Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy Show. We're the UK's only TV programme that's dedicated to your mental health and well-being. So today we're talking about a really important topic, and that is gaslighting, which is a form of psychological abuse used to manipulate people's perceptions of reality. And here to help us delve into what gaslighting is Dr Audrey Tang. She'll also be joined by the director of the upcoming theatrical production of Gaslight, Alymann, who's been talking to us about the purpose of this production and raising awareness about this issue. With us is also careers expert coach Chris Browne, who'll be teaching us how to accept and embrace change in the workplace. Andrea Black and Kevin J give us a touching performance of their single Helmets and Boots, a song they both made to raise awareness for the treatment and care of army veterans facing mental and physical issues after service. We also give you a yummy recipe for chocolate rochers and show you a video courtesy of Head Talks with comedian Ruby Wax on how she enhanced her life with the help of comedy. Dr Rob Hicks gives us his tips on how to handle stress, and at the end of the show I'll be giving you my tips on how to choose a partner wisely. So let me tell you a little bit more about gaslighting. According to Psychology Today, it's a psychological form of emotional abuse in which a person or entity, in order to gain more power, makes a victim question their reality. Anyone is susceptible to gaslighting, and it's a common technique of abusers, dictators, narcissists and cult leaders. Gaslighting behavior is prominent in abusive domestic relationships. However, according to Time magazine, it's been claimed to be a common manipulation tactic by those in a position of power in the workplace and in schoolrooms, with gaslighter bosses or co-workers going as far as using passive-aggressive emails, character rather than work-based criticisms, or someone's personal life to manipulate that person's perspectives of a situation. Another study from Get the Gloss also suggests that gaslighting is pathological and gaslighters may not be aware of their manipulations towards other people. So what do you on Twitter think? Stephen says, calling someone crazy, psycho, schizo, etc. when they criticize your behavior is a textbook abuse tactic called gaslighting. Alex clarifies it for us too, stating emotional abuse includes conflicting actions or statements that are designed to confuse and create insecurity in the victim. B says gaslighting comes in many forms. So some very interesting thoughts on gaslighting there. So what does our resident psychologist Dr Audrey Tang have to say about the mental implications of gaslight? She's also joined by owner of Wild Ginger Lily, Alymann, who is the director of the upcoming theatre production of the play Gaslight by Patrick Hammond. Welcome to the show, Ashley and Audrey.
Thanks for having us, Chrissy.
So lovely to have you both on. Now, we are going to be explaining the link between the two of you. And while we have this amazing cake here, we will be explaining that a bit later on. But just to let you know, this is our official MHD Challenge cake. And we'll talk to you more about it just in just a moment. But first of all, let's start with you, Audrey. Gaslighting. Yes. Can you tell us about, I spoke a bit in the intro about it, but can you just go into a bit more detail for us? What is it and why does it happen?
It's one of the most cruel forms of emotional abuse. It can happen in any form of relationship, but the main point is the abuser is trying to make the abused become completely dependent on them. And they do it in a number of psychological ways. It can be particularly dangerous in a relationship because if you've got somebody who becomes very dependent on that partner, they don't go out on their own. But also imagine if you are a vulnerable elderly person, perhaps with quite a lot of money, that's also a ploy that some people can use. So it's really important that we do talk about this particular tactic. What the gaslighter does is they begin to make the person question their own sanity. They question their own thoughts, their memories. All of us go through those times where we leave something somewhere, we forget it, and we think, oh my goodness, that's just me. But the gaslighter plays on that. So what they will do is they'll say, oh, would you look after my keys? And then they'll take them, hide them somewhere, and then say, have you got my keys? And of course, you'll go and look for where you put them last, and they're not there anymore.
So sinister, isn't it?
Very. It is all about control. Then they also start isolating you from other people, making you completely dependent on them. And the way they do that as well is things like little passive-aggressive comments, saying things like, oh, only a crazy person would say that, or you mean to say that you're accusing me of this? And sooner or later, the person who's being gaslighted starts doubting their thoughts, their feelings, their memory. And because of that, they start saying things like, oh, well, I can't be trusted with this. Can you look after the finances? I can't be trusted with that. Can you look after my diary? And that is how the abuser gets complete control. The sad part is, of course, in a relationship, it's not been proved, but there has been a bit of research suggesting this. It tends to be a very narcissistic abuser and a very compassionate person who is often abused, only because the compassionate person is looking for reasons. Oh, they didn't mean it. Oh, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to help them. But really,
so
the narcissist is there.
They target this kind of person.
Absolutely. They often target. It's right to say they probably target the more compassionate person, but it's not necessarily that they target someone who is necessarily emotionally vulnerable. Sometimes, especially when it's narcissistic abuse, what they like to do is to target somebody who seems vibrant, exciting, and break them down, because that's part of it. And the most important thing about gaslighting is it looks so different from the inside compared to from the outside. So you can see the signs, the symbols, if someone's being isolated, if someone doesn't trust their memory anymore. But when you're inside that situation, you genuinely believe, it must be me, it must be my fault, I must be causing all of this. And also what the narcissist or the abuser sometimes does is they will do something called love bombing, which right at the start of the relationship, they often, they're the answer to your dreams. They are everything you could wish them to be. But then they slowly withdraw some of that. And then the new term is breadcrumbing. To me, it's just a form of reinforcement, a schedule of reinforcement. And it's the same one that they use for slot machines. It's never a predictable reinforcement of that love, of that affection. It might be a little bit here and a little bit there, and that keeps you going back because you think, oh, at the start of the relationship it was so wonderful. Because that person said, oh, it was because you behaved that way, that's why I responded like that, you start thinking, oh my goodness, that was my fault. Then because your own memory has been changed effectively, you don't trust yourself anymore, so you begin to become completely dependent on that person. And it is just so important that we talk about it.
Definitely. Now, we did bring Ashley on today. Can you tell us what the connection is? I know you're a good friend. You know?
We are, yes. Strange enough, I met Ashley at law school, in the Law School Drama Society.
All those years ago.
Ashley is a professional actor. He has other talents as well, which I know you'll speak about later. And Ashley is directing our one-off production of Gaslight. The play is the late 1930s, there's debate whether it's 38 or 37, written by Patrick Hamilton, and we've been given permission to perform the play. And it's really to raise awareness of this, and that play Gaslight is where the term comes from. What's been really helpful for me, because I'm playing Bella, the girl who is being gaslighted by her husband, it's helping me get the inside view of what that can really feel like. And Ashley is directing us. So
how is that going?
It's going well. It's a lot of fun. They're doing all the work. They are. I'm just sitting there and saying, yes, do this, do that, do this, do that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's I think very fulfilling. It's a very current topic. I mean, this play was written almost 100 years ago, and it's just as relevant today as it was then.
Still happens, still goes on.
Absolutely. So we're having a blast.
We are, in many ways, because it's such a heavy subject. But and that's why it's so important to work with somebody that you trust. And the guy playing my husband as well, I trust him implicitly. And again, you have to, because you put yourself in that vulnerable situation, that it's so important to be able to know that the people that you're working with have got your back the whole time. Yeah,
especially in rehearsals as well. You've just got to be able to trust each other to be able to work, especially when you're dealing with such, difficult issues. And you, like you say, you're very vulnerable. So being able to trust each other to experience that feeling of vulnerability is very important.
I suppose obviously you've created quite a bond between all of you, I suppose, because of that level. You know why you're doing it is to raise awareness, is to help. It's such a serious thing to do as well, because it has the potential of saving lives at the end of the day, doesn't
Absolutely.
it? Yes. How does that feel to be able to do that?
Well, if it helps somebody, it's great. I mean, like Audrey says, she doesn't necessarily have had have experienced gaslighting before, but to be able to see the process of how it happens and what happens to the victim and what the perpetrator does, it's such an eye-opener.
For me, also working in mental health, I think it's quite important because one of the things I realised was a lot of therapists have different approaches to supporting somebody, and a lot of them do go down the route of taking personal responsibility, which is very important. However, when you're dealing with somebody who has been gaslighted, or I think that's the term for it, rather than gaslit, but if you have a therapist who is always saying to you, okay, what responsibility do you have for this? That's not going to work, because all of this is not your fault. It has been put upon you by someone else. And the hardest thing is to tell people that you cannot let other people tell you how you feel or how you experience things or how you think about things, because that is authentic and true to you. And I understand when therapists are there to say, right, we're trying to get you to look at your part and how you can change things. In this, it's not like that at all. You have to have someone who understands that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And what inspired you to put all this together?
You.
First of all.
Simply you. Working with you and working with the show, one of the things that I've been really inspired by is the fact that you use your story to inspire others, to let them know they're not alone. And whilst I haven't been through that, I've been very lucky. My background is performance. And one thing that I've noticed about performance is, yes, you can use it to raise money for lots of things, but when you can get a piece of work which really gave its name to a form of abuse, which really educates people, and you get the opportunity to put it on, for me, that was, you know what, this can be our own campaign. We can raise awareness that way. So, it's down to you.
That's amazing. When is it actually out? When's the final?
We're doing a one-off, and it is in support of Mind as well, because they are wonderful, and what they do a lot of is advocacy as well, and it's not just for the person who's going through it, it's for their friends and family too. But it is on December the 10th at the Etc. Theatre, and it's just a one-off 2:30 matinee.
Okay, to make sure we're there.
Lovely.
Now, we have to talk about something a little bit different, although it's to do with breaking through and starting again and changing everything. Ashley made this incredible cake. So this is your other hidden talent that Audrey was speaking about. Tell us how you got into cake making then in the first place.
Do you know what? I suppose it's the old cliche. I used to help my mum when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I love baking. I love cooking. I get so much pleasure when I see people enjoying my things. And I know, again, it's that old cliche. Maybe I was a mother in my previous life. But and I loved it. And
how did you come up with all these concepts?
Well, for this particular one, I know about your MHD challenge and the topics of your show. So I wanted to make like a something hard, a base. So I thought I'll do a concrete cake. So that's the base. It's a concrete cake. It's hard. It's cold. It's I suppose when somebody's going through depression and anxiety, it feels like you can't get out of this prison that you're in. And so that was the base, and then I thought, but then there's always hope. There's always something which you can aspire to, and something beautiful that comes out of it. So I wanted the flowers to represent that.
Amazing.
And of course we got the colours, your yellow, and your red.
Yellow's of the t-shirt that we've got, the red scarf, everybody, and I'm wearing red today. And I love all the hashtags, MHD challenge, mental health, well-being, stop stigma. I love it. It's just perfect. So now it's time to actually cut this amazing cake and see what's inside. We have lots of people in the studio waiting for this, especially one Chris Browne who's going to be doing his part a bit later on, but he's going to have some cake first. So now, Ash, I was just saying, I thought this was a real flower. I didn't actually realise you made this flower. That is absolutely amazing. It looks so real.
Out of fondant, yes.
Wow. That is amazing. Shall I take that off to cut it? I don't know. I don't want to ruin it, but I want cake. I'm going to have to move this out of the way.
You've got to take it off.
Tell us what's inside, Ashley, while I'm
It is a lemon and almond cake with lemon curd, Swiss meringue buttercream, and white chocolate ganache.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, I'm not doing a very good job of this. Hang on a minute. Okay, let's try. Oh, I just stuck my finger in. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay, I'm going to try and take this out as... Oh, gosh. Actually, do you want to do this? Because I don't want to ruin it.
No, it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, maybe I should have done a bigger slice. It might have been... Okay, there we go. See, my piece was too... Oh, look at that, everybody. 4 layers. That looks amazing. Do we have a close-up? Absolutely beautiful. So now we're going to try this lovely cake, and I have to call in someone who's been really impatient today because he's just really wanted to try this cake. So Chris Browne, come in. He's going to be joining us later. How are you?
Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Oh,
Take a spoon. Take a spoon.
Let me try some of this.
You can try some of this.
Yeah. Let me try some.
I'm going to try some. Can I try some as well, please?
Oh, no, this is your way. I'm cutting here. That's
Lovely jubbly. Lovely. Would you like some, Audrey?
Let's
get a spoon for Audrey.
That looks so
Can you get one for Audrey? Because my fingers are a bit...
yeah.
And one for Ashley.
I have that little bit on the corner there,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
grab that little plate. Oh, fantastic.
There's another spoon.
Lovely, absolutely.
Spoon for
lovely.
Ashley.
Yep.
Well, guys,
Oh, thank you.
while we're
There you go, have some more.
amazing MHD challenge cake,
have some more.
let's tell you what's coming up after the break. Thank you so much, Ashley and Audrey.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Cake.
us.
Thank you, Chris, for eating our cake. And we'll see you again later. And after the break, we're going to be showing you a video courtesy of Heads Together on how Ruby Wax's mental health journey changed the way she lives her life. But first, what percentage of men are abused domestically? Is it A, 30%, B, 40%, or C, 50%? Find out the answer after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your TV program for all things related to mental health and well-being. Now, before the break, we asked you what percentage of men are abused domestically? Is it A, 30%, B, 40%, or C, 50%? The answer is an unfortunate 40% according to The Guardian. Now, this is attributed with social stigmas of men being vulnerable but unwilling to admit they want help. Well, now, changing your life can be difficult regardless of any profession. So how did comedian Ruby Wax deal with her mental struggles? Let's take a look.
Teachers should look. If they look sad, they haven't got depression. If they look like a dead animal, that's depression. And that's what it feels like where you open your door and you can't decide whether to turn right or left. And it is like you're walking in a bubble. And then when you sit down, there's no person left. There's nothing. So you have to imitate who you used to be. And it's grotesque, but nobody ever notices. So everything is difficult. I couldn't take a shower. That was just too daunting. And then I had to be institutionalized because there was nothing left. I only have my depression once every 5 years or 3.
Okay.
And luckily I did documentaries. So Ed would say to my kids I was doing a documentary. If I had a 9-to-5 job, I would have been busted. So I would take to my bed, or 4 times I think I went to an institution, and my kids weren't told, but when they were 16, Ed allowed them to see it so they wouldn't be frightened if they got it. So in the beginning, I can't remember, it would be like sleeping for a few days, but awake. And then 10 years ago, where I changed everything, it was hard and long. So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to research this and figure out some way. Of course, I've been on medication for 20 years. I'm not ashamed of that, because I do think, if you had diabetes, you'd be on the insulin. But that doesn't mean, it works, because otherwise we wouldn't have relapses. So it's like, to me, and it's waiting for the animal. It's like a beast that's waiting, and then it comes so slowly. People think it's a nervous breakdown, you start screaming. It's so slow that you assumed your personality's been replaced by this dead thing. So, you can't spot it. So this is what changed everything, as I really started to look into what would work. Comic Relief asked me if they could use a photo of mine to get some money for mental health charities. So I said, okay, but I thought it was going to be little, because your picture is as big as your viewing figures. So my viewing figures were starting to dip, so I thought it was going to be small. But it was gigantic, to my surprise, in tube stations. And it said on my picture, 1 in 4 people have mental illness, 1 in 5 people have dandruff. I have both. So I thought, I'm going to write a show. I'm going to make that look like it's my publicity poster. So I wrote a show, and I performed it live from the Priory. They gave me a tent. And I did it with half the inmates and half my friends, and nobody could tell who was what. And then I toured mental institutions for 2 years. I went to every mental institution and never happier because they're my people. And you can't insult somebody else who's as sick as you are. So I could really throw it at them and they loved it. And I make jokes about it that the bipolars used to say, I laughed, I cried. Anyway, that show took off and it went to real theaters all around the world. And it turned out that it isn't just the 1 in 4, everybody feels frazzled and mad. Let me make a distinction. Depression is a disease. The other thing is just stress. There's a real big chasm between the two. But the audience did get on. They knew what I was talking about. And then at the second half, they would stand up and ask questions or tell answers. And that went on for 7 years. And just one of the outcomes of that was in January, I'm opening Frazzled Cafes, which all over the UK, that Marks and Spencer's have given me their cafes. They'll close them, and groups of 15 will meet anonymously and form a kind of tribe. Not seriously mentally ill, we're not therapists, but there'll be a facilitator, and then they meet every 2 weeks. And if I had that when I was young, God knows what would have happened. I would have felt I knew my people, but because it's so isolating, and you haven't got a lump, or and you haven't been in a war zone, the shame is the bit that really makes it bad. No other disease has shame. It's now been brought up in Parliament that they're starting to teach mindfulness in schools. It's from the Oxford University Centre, and the results are being, you can see the empirical evidence of what happens to those children's brains if you get them young enough. Because it is about a practice, and it is about giving the kids a chance to self-regulate, that we can't just say, I'm having a hissy fit, I'm doing this. We do, but it isn't your fault sometimes. It's some chemical in me, and so you have to understand, this came from me, and the reason you're reacting is not because of you, because of me. And then kids can understand that no matter how many hours they struggle to get ready for a test, if their cortisol's up when they sit down, the first thing to go is their memory. So if parents understood this, is that they need to be able to calm themselves down.
Thank you very much to Ruby Wax for sharing her story, and to Head Talks for that video. And if you'd like to see more videos by them, just head over to our contributors section of our website, chrissybshow.tv. Now, a serious precursor for mental illness is stress, and here Dr. Rob Hicks gives us some valuable information on how to handle stress.
Hello and welcome to Doctor's Orders here at the Chrissy B Show. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks. Today I'd like to chat with you about stress, because let's be honest, we all suffer from stress at some point in our lives. It might be once or twice a year, but it could be more frequently than that. Now, a little bit of stress every now and then is good for us. It helps us to perform well, it keeps us on our toes, and if we find ourselves in a dangerous situation, it will help us get out of that situation safely. But what we don't want is that long-term, everyday, chronic stress that just grinds us down. Physically, that weakens our immune system, leaving us more susceptible to infections like coughs and colds. It also contributes to high blood pressure, which in turn increases our risk of heart attacks and strokes. From an emotional point of view, long-term chronic stress makes us more likely to suffer with anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. So how do you recognize when you might be suffering with stress? Well, there are a number of symptoms that people describe when they are under stress. Sweaty palms, for example, a racing heart, butterflies in the stomach, maybe needing to go to the toilet more frequently. I know when I'm feeling stressed, I get a tired pulling sensation around my eyes, which is basically my body telling me, Rob, you need to do something to relax and unwind. And relaxing and unwinding is incredibly important. So how do you manage stress? How do you deal with it? Well, the first thing is to try and identify what's causing the stress. So it might be that you're always late for meetings. It might be that you're always late for work. And if that's the case, think about perhaps reorganizing meetings to a different time. If possible, starting work at a different time, using a different route to get to work, a different mode of transport. If it's that people keep interrupting you when you're trying to get a piece of work finished, then explain to them that you're trying to finish your piece of work by, let's say, 3 o'clock, and if they don't mind, please could they not disturb you until you're finished, unless of course it's an emergency. But what happens if you can't immediately avoid the stress that's causing you all the problems. Let's say, for example, you really don't like your job and you need to find a new job, or you've got some problems within your relationship that you need to work through. You can see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it may be a matter of weeks, months, possibly even longer before you can get rid of that stress. Well, this is where you can take steps on a daily basis to relieve your stress. Exercise, for example, is very, very good at relieving stress. It releases the endorphin hormones that actually lift our spirits and lift our mood and help us calm down as far as stress is concerned. You might want to take 5 minutes out every hour is something I recommend to people to do something relaxing, and that might be simply making a cup of tea. It might be looking at some photographs of happy memories. It may be jogging on the spot. It may be doing some deep breathing exercises. Anything that works for you. One of the things that I have on my desk at work is a tennis ball. So if I'm finding myself stressed, I can reach for this, I give it a few squeezes, I might bounce it up and down, or if it's safe to do so, I might throw it against the wall and catch it. And what that does is very quickly, it distracts me from the stress, it puts me in a position where I'm relaxed, and actually, mentally, I'm in a position where I can address the cause of stress more effectively and more efficiently. And I call that my instant distressor. And you may have something like that as well that you use. Again, a photograph of a happy memory, some music, a favourite passage in a book, anything that immediately moves you away from the stress and helps you to relax and unwind. In addition, to taking 5 minutes out every hour to relax and unwind, I think it's really important that we spend more time doing the things we enjoy doing. So I recommend to people that you take at least 30 minutes a day to do something that you really find pleasurable, that really makes you feel good. And don't feel guilty about doing that. It's called self-caring, and it'll help you be more productive in the future, and indeed it'll keep a handle on stress for you. Now, if you find that you're under so much stress it's really getting you down, it's affecting your work, it's affecting your home life, it's affecting your relationships, and particularly if it's making you feel depressed, then please seek the advice of your doctor and get some help. Because the bottom line is, you can get in control of stress and stop it from controlling you. And that is doctor's orders.
Thank you very much to Rob. Well, after the break, we have self-development coach Chris Browne giving us his insight on how to handle changes at work, and Kevin J and Andrea Black perform their single Helmets and Boots. But first, women who were victims of abuse from an intimate partner are how much more likely to suffer from depression in comparison to women who were not victims of abuse? Is it A, twice as likely, B, 5 times as likely, or C, 8 times as likely? Think you know the answer? Find out if you're right after this break. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to The Chrissy B Show, everyone, the TV program that looks after your mental health and well-being. Now, before the break, I asked you, women who were victims of abuse from an intimate partner are how much more likely to suffer from depression in comparison to women who were not victims of abuse? Is it A, twice as likely, B, 5 times as likely, or C, 8 times as likely? The answer is A, according to Voalgo. Women who have suffered abuse are twice more likely to suffer from depression. Now, as we said early on, gaslighting is a lot more common than we all assume, and this includes in the workplace. But what if you've left a toxic work environment, or that manipulative person has left, or your day-to-day in the office has changed? Well, here is personal development coach Chris Browne to give us his tips on how to handle changes at work. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Glad to be here, Chrissy.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Chrissy, change.
Yes.
We're going to talk about change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, change, we all have to go through it one way or another. Let me just give you an example. If you can just fold your arms.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, right? That's how you normally fold your arms.
Yes.
Fold your arms the other way around now.
Okay. Did I just do it the same way?
Do you see?
Yep.
You have to really think about it because our minds are fixed automatically.
Yeah.
This is the way we do it, and it's, anyway, this is the way we do it, and it's hard to do it the other way. And sometimes we do not like change. It's going to happen, it's inevitable, it's going to happen regardless. So what I want to do is just go through a few visuals about this, about what change really is and what it does to us.
Alrighty.
Okay. Right, now here we go, change at work. But before I say this, change at work is not only about work, it's in other areas of life as well. So you can take that on another level, right? Let's have a look. Now, how do some people deal with change? If you look at those visuals at the bottom there, some people tend to stick their heads in the mud, pretend that it's not happening and carry on. But think about this, when they pull their heads out, everything has changed around them. What could you do about it then, right? So we got to actually look at what's going on with it and see what can we do. So let's have a look.
Okay.
Understanding your personal resistance to change. Now, we say we don't like change, but there are many reasons behind it. And when we actually understand the reasons behind the change, then we can actually think about how we can actually stop this resistance that goes inside of us. Let's move on. Right, understanding your personal resistance to change. Now, there are different areas we could talk about. Here's one area that we've got to deal with. And I'll say this at home. It's something you should take down because you've got to be honest with yourself and say, look, is this to do with me? Is this why I don't like change? So let's go through them. Here we go. We got fear. Right? Fear is a very good reason why people don't like to change. They like their comfort zone, they like to stay within their comfort zone, and it's fine, right? So, loss of control. That's another one. When we lose control of a situation because everything is changing, we feel a bit worthless or inadequate, so we say, our pride jumps and says, I don't like change, I want to stay as I am. Titles. Right? Established titles. You might have a position somewhere. You might hold a certain role and everybody else is going with this change around you. Again, ego, pride kicks in. I don't like this change. So inside of me, I feel resistant towards it. I may go with it, but I'm resistant. Guess what? I'm resistant to the people around me as well. Right? So that's another one. Now there's another one which we all tend to go through, which is creature habit. Right? Creature habit, creature habit, let me get it right. Okay, we've got that inside of us where we think about, look, I'm used to doing it this way, that's the way I've always done it, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way I am, and I'm not going to change. Now, in the workplace, in your personal life, as you said, we got to grow. We have to grow. There's no two ways about it. And if you stick with this, that's the way I am, that's the way I've always done it, things around you are going to change. And then you're going to have to pull your head out of the sand and look around and realize, look, I'm deleting myself. Right? So let's go with one more. So one last one is technology. You know, the workplace, they decide to get new things in, do things in a new way, and with somebody up there is saying, no, I don't like this. I don't like the way you do that. I don't like this. But really and truly, it's because they don't want to go with the change. So we've got to think, how can we actually embrace this instead? You know, so let's move on here. Right. Do you have the power to change things? Do you have the power to change things? Here's a little exercise we can do. Okay, if we go into the next one. We've got here, a little bit smaller than here, you say circle of influence, right? Okay, now this circle, I'll actually like you to do this at home, just draw two circles. You've got one big circle there, draw another one in the middle, and on top here it says I can, and in the middle one it says I can't, right? Okay, let's move to the next slide. Let's just say this. So, Chrissy, it's kind of obvious this one, but let's say the weather. Can you change it or can you not?
No, I can't.
No, you can't change it. You believe you can't. Okay, so that would have been in the I can't. Moods?
I can change that.
You can change your mood. Yes, you can change your mood, which dictates a lot of things around you as well. All right, let's say you're working somewhere and it's about your wages. Oh, you know, your pay. Can you change that or can you not?
It depends. There might be a possibility to be able to do that, depending on how hard I work or talking to my boss, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Dialogue always helps. And here's one. The type of job you want to go for as well. Is that down to you or is it down to circumstance or can you change it? Do you have an influence it or not?
I think you can.
You can change that, right. Okay, let's look at the next slide. Let's see. There we go. So you were spot on. All right, we know we can't change the weather, not unless you just recently seen that film Geostorm or whatever, right? Okay, they're making things to change the weather. All right, I can change my mood. Some people get up and say, look, I had a bad morning and that's the way I am. I'm going to go in that way throughout the day and spread it to everybody else, all right? No, all right? Okay, so here we go, wages. Yeah, you said it. I don't need to explain it. It's your performance at the end of the day. And let's say they're not going to pay you. There's always other jobs. Yeah. You know, the type of job you want to go into. Yes, circumstances and situations, you don't know someone's background, but you can actually change it as well. So we do actually have influence over these situations. You know, we can actually change certain situations as well. Let's have a look at another one. All right, change is good. Start to embrace it. Change is good. Let's move on. Right, now solutions. We always want a solution at the end of the day. We need to know how and what we're going to do, right? So let's say solution to change. We don't like change. So what have we got to do? We've got to make a commitment. Yeah. We've got to set a plan. We've got to find a way of embracing change instead of resisting it. And if you go back to those ones which you said about resistance, if we recognize our resistance and set a plan of which one we're going to work on, get rid of the ego, the pride, and go with it. Because if you don't, you'll be deleted at the end of the day. All right. I'm going to finish on that one and just say, embrace change. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's important to say as well, like, why it's important to be open to change as well, because you will end up losing lots of opportunities if you don't embrace change.
That's right.
Your life will get pretty boring, I think, as well. Things will imagine doing the same thing day in, day out. And we're not just talking about career here, are we, Chris? We're talking about other things as well.
Just in your general life.
Yeah,
you've got to actually embrace it one way or another.
I know it's scary sometimes. And like you said, we are creatures of comfort. We like our routines and doing things the same way. But then we never learn, we never grow. No. And then we can't complain that things aren't different for us because we're not making that step to make things different.
Towards it. I mean, you think about it. Once upon a time, we had those big brick mobile phones, right? Yeah. Okay. Then it changed, right, into a smaller mobile phone. It was flip phone, right? Give it a little while. You ask somebody, "Can I borrow your phone? My mobile has run out." Here it is. Yeah. Here it is. Do you want to borrow? You know, things are changing faster than the speed of light, and we got to catch up with it at the end of the day. Definitely. Be aware. Change.
Thank you, Chris, so much.
Pleasure, Chrissy.
And we'll see you again very soon. Thank you. So here on the show, we love actually showcasing talent that also coincides with good deeds. Now, here to perform their charity single, which aims to raise awareness for the treatment and care of Army veterans going through both mental and physical issues, is Kevin J and Andrea Black. Here they're with their song, Helmets and Boots.
Sing to the future. We fought on the ground
and grappled and battled for the few that came through.
Now we live with the memory, the shadow of you. Helmets and boots and tears from the sky. Ours is a memory for others that died. Does anyone listen to those that came through? The trophies of war, the helmets and boots. We're all unknown soldiers walking through streets, anonymous in solitude while others sleep.
Echoes of friendship and duty go far into the future. I drive my car,
and round about midnight I stop to salute the brave ones were shot down in helmets and boots. 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 Helmets and boots, tears from the sky. Ours was a memory for others that died. Does anyone listen to those that came through? The trophies of war,
helmets and boots.
They gave me a medal,
Then gave me praise.
but what will they give me to get through each day?
Memories abandoned, bewildered and scared.
I played with my life.
Does anyone care? If you do, then show me
Those helmets and boots.
helmets and boots. Helmets and boots. Helmets and boots. Helmets and boots.
Helmets and boots.
Tears from the sky. Ours was a memory for others that died. Does anyone listen to those that came through? The trophies of war, helmets and boots.
Helmets and boots. Tears from the sky.
Ours was a memory for others that died. Does anyone listen to those that came through? The trophies of war, helmets and boots. Oh, they came through.
Thanks very much to Andrea and Kevin there. And if you have a song that you would like to perform on the show, please do email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. And we're looking for happy and inspirational songs or songs with an important message. Well, coming up after the break, we have Chef Danielle Shine and also raw chocolatier Amy Levin showing us how to make delicious and healthy chocolate rochers. And I'll be giving you my tips on how to choose a partner wisely. But first, is this true or false? Domestic violence has more repeat victims than any other crime. Think you know the answer? Find out if you're correct right after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where today we've been talking all about gaslighting. And if you'd like to know more and you've missed the beginning of this program, don't worry, you can head over to our YouTube channel and check out the link there. Now, before the break, I asked you if this was true or false. Domestic violence has more repeat victims than any other crime. Well, the answer is actually true, according to surveys made by livingwithoutaBuse.com. So now moving on to something completely different. Chocolate has a bad reputation, but can actually be really good for you. And here, natural food chef Danielle Shine and raw chocolatier Amy Levin show us the perfect recipe for delicious chocolate rochers.
Hi everyone, I'm here today with one of the world's best chocolatiers, Amy Levin. Hi Amy.
Hello.
Amy's going to be teaching me and you how to make something delicious, nutritious and chocolatey.
We're gonna make some peanut rochers. So they're like, rocher means boulder, so it just looks like a little boulder in the end. You can't maybe visualize it right now, but it's gonna be awesome. So this is raw chocolate that I made myself, but if I was gonna buy chocolate, if I was gonna do it myself at home, I would go out and buy a really nice chocolate bar. Stay away from things like emulsifiers, so that's like soy lecithin, sugars, yeah. Just try and go with the least amount of ingredients possible, always.
Yes, perfect advice.
Yeah?
So
Okay. Chocolate, yep. And then we've got peanut butter here. This is a smooth peanut butter. You can use any kind of nut or seed butter that you want. This is effectively a praline, so you can do whatever you want. We're gonna make a peanut one, but you could do almond, you could do like pumpkin seed and sunflower seed. Sesame seed, tahini is lovely. It's also a little bit less expensive too.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we've got honey here. And you can choose to use any kind of liquid sweetener that you want. Alternatively, because your chocolate's already sweetened and we're gonna be using it inside, you actually don't need to use any sweetener if you don't want to.
Okay.
And then then over here we just have some spices. Cinnamon and vanilla powder here. You could just use vanilla extract if you wanted to, and also you could just omit it completely from the recipe.
But I love that you are using cinnamon, because cinnamon is perfect for lowering blood sugar levels. So it's actually one of the greatest things you can have in chocolate, really.
Absolutely.
Yum.
And then just to the side here, we just have some peanut products. And these are just gonna be for like texture inside the rocher. Some of it's gonna be for a texture outside. And then we were thinking about putting a peanut just in the inside. So it's like a Ferrero Rocher.
Little surprise.
A little surprise.
That's great. Okay.
Right?
So first things first, we're going to melt down the chocolate.
Melt down the chocolate. We're gonna do it over a double boiler. I'm gonna show you how we do that.
Cool. Let's do it.
Okay.
Right, what's the next step?
So the next step is we're going to put this to the side just a second, and then we've got our peanut butter here. We're just going to put everything that we're going to use into this bowl. So just grab a spoon. Peanut butter goes in.
I love peanut butter. It's such a good protein, and it's filled with potassium.
And then we got our honey here. There's no particular order that you need to do this in, by the way.
Great.
You can just chuck it all together. You can't really mess this up.
Yeah.
And then the spices.
Yeah.
So got all that stuff mixed through.
Perfect.
And then what the chocolate does is it's going to make it set and make it so that we can kind of handle it too.
Oh, okay. So we're just mixing it straight in.
Straight in.
Ugh.
Literally equal amounts.
Yum. Okay.
Okay. And then we just mix that through.
So we're just slowly kind of mixing it through, and it's all going to mix in well. Okay.
Oh yeah, it mixes
This is
real
a
nice.
fairly simple, easy recipe.
Super simple. It's one of the simplest things that I make. This guy is a bit warm because the chocolate was warm.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in the fridge to just firm it up a little bit so we can work with it.
Okay, so it should be nice and hard now.
Yeah, it's nice and firm. So it's just so that
firm.
you can spoon it like this. All right, so you just take a little piece of it, not too much.
Okay.
Don't roll it too much or it will melt a little bit. So grab your peanut in the middle. That's right.
Cool.
Roll it up.
They look fantastic.
You
Oh my
know?
gosh.
But let's get these all in the fridge.
Yes.
Get them a little bit set up and then we'll dip them in chocolate. So you take the chocolate, you drop it in.
Oh.
Kind of spoon or fork chocolate over it.
Okay.
Pull it out. Let that excess drip off. So then with your other hand, just make a little well, drop it in.
Straight in. So what are some other good coatings we could use? So say I have a nut allergy and I've used pumpkin seed
Yeah.
butter. Could you use ground?
You mean for the outside?
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, absolutely. Pumpkin seeds, grind up some pumpkin seeds. Whatever you use, whatever your key ingredient is, your garnish should reflect that. So this is really just a decoration. Makes it look really pretty. It doesn't actually have to be there, but it gives texture and it looks really nice. There you
How
go.
good does it?
Finito bonito. They just need to go in the fridge for like 5-10 minutes just to set up, just to get a nice little shell in there.
All right.
And then it's
Let's
delightful
do
in
it.
this town.
And then we're gonna taste.
Go for it.
Yes.
All right, so grab this guy. Give it a little slice.
Ah, there it is in the middle.
There's the peanut.
Okay, it's time
Do
for me
it.
to
Get
taste
involved.
this because,
Absolutely.
It's only fair.
It's only human, is what it is.
Oh my god,
Delight?
Amy.
You just saying that because the cameras are on though?
No, this is amazing. This is truly, I think also because it's super healthy, but it tastes so good, like fresh and better than the store-bought. So, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking with my mouth full, it's so rude, but you can make these too at home. The recipe is now on the Chrissy B website. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining me. I am going to go and finish this, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much to Danielle and to Amy there. So now I'm going to be covering some tips on choosing a partner wisely. Now, Audrey did speak about some tips already, but I just want to go through a few of my own. And the first one is, don't jump in too fast. Now, this is a major mistake I think that people make. What is the actual rush? So a lot of people, maybe they've been on their own for a while and then they meet someone that appears to, be really into them and they think it could be possibly the one, so they just invest so much in that person. And even they get physical too fast as well. It's like, you know, a lot of people nowadays, maybe they just jump into bed, they don't get to know each other. And of course, when you have that physical connection already, that intimacy, it's harder to break away from someone that you've been so intimate with as well, because it's like you've already given them a part of you. You've become, you know, one in a sense. So it's harder to actually step away once you are involved in a physical way. So many people, as I said, they do rush in. And when it comes to looking out for other signs, which is I'll talk about in a minute, they kind of miss the point because they're so involved already emotionally, physically, in so many ways, then that if they'd waited a bit to get to know the person and actually see, is this person really right for me, then they don't see that anymore. Taking me on to my next point, which is to look out for the signs. So, you know, say you haven't jumped in too fast and you're actually getting to know the person, and even if you have already, like, you know, been physical with the person, you're quite attached to the person, but it's not too late to step away from that. So look out for the signs. So if, for example, the person's behavior is up and down all the time, if this person makes you feel uncomfortable, then I think this is a big one for me, because when I met my husband, I never felt uncomfortable with him, even as friends. So if there's certain comments that this person makes, and it's kind of, okay, I know you make jokes with each other. Me and my husband joke all the time about things, and if you could hear some of our jokes, you'd probably be shocked, like some of the things we say to each other. But we know it's in jest and we know one another. But if, you know, this person is making these jokes and it doesn't really feel like a joke, it doesn't sound like a joke, they make out as if it is, and they make out as, oh, I'm just having a laugh, why don't you just lighten up? But if it makes you feel bad and uncomfortable around them, then you have to question that. Why? You shouldn't feel uncomfortable with your partner. You should look forward to being with them. You should be able to be yourself. You shouldn't have to feel that you need to hide anything. So that is a big sign that if you're feeling uncomfortable, if the person is kind of putting you down in any way, then you need to really have a look at that and see if it's right. The third point is compatibility, not chemistry. A big mistake, a very big mistake. People are always going on about chemistry, or I didn't, for example, they meet someone and they have so much in common, but because there was no chemistry there, then they think, oh, this person's not for me. Of course, I know you have to be attracted to someone, and yes, you get the butterflies in your stomach and all that stuff. That used to happen with me and my husband. I don't feel butterflies anymore when I'm with him. I'm used to him. It's not that I don't love him or I'm not attracted to him anymore. I am, but it's different. But people think that they have to have this chemistry, and as long as they have that connection, then everything's going to be all right. But they don't actually see, is this person compatible for me? Do we have similar goals for the future? Do I know enough about this person? They don't do their homework in a sense, and they just jump in just because of the passionate feelings that they have, and they think that's all that matters, but they don't actually really check if they are compatible. And the fourth one is don't be anxious. So if you're not sure about this person, don't get involved, and don't be afraid. If you're already involved, don't be afraid to break up, because maybe you're thinking, oh, you know what, I've invested so much time in this relationship. I'm getting older. I don't know if I'm going to meet anyone else. What will people say if I break up? They're just going to say, oh, you know, there's this person again on their own. All of that doesn't matter, because the thing is, you will end up wasting time anyway on a relationship that isn't good for you. And, you know, don't worry about what people say or think. And do you know what? It's much better. I know some people are really fixated on the age thing, and, you know, especially sometimes females who want to have a baby and everything. But you know what? It's better to not have a baby and be with someone that you love later on, and someone that really treats you well, then have a baby with someone that you're not, you know, that is going to treat you bad and you're not going to get along with. What's the point of even bringing a child into that relationship? So don't be afraid of, you know, making that break, and don't let things like, oh, my age, what people say, all of that, you know, it doesn't count for anything, because at the end of the day, you're going to be stuck with a person that, you know, is going to make your life miserable. So that's my advice. Just make sure you look out for all these different things. Well, everyone, we have reached the end of today's program, but don't forget, if you have a story that you would like to share, or you'd like to give us your comments about this episode or previous ones, which you can find all of them on our YouTube channel, please do get in touch with us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about me, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, Bye-bye for now. Can I have like 4 spoons, please? Only 4, these lot aren't getting on.
I don't need a spoon.